Hello friends, welcome back to CCSP Certified channel. My name is Rag and I have 14 years of industry experience. I have recently cleared CCSP exam and decided to prepare this video series on most important topics, as soundness of the concept is very important to clear the exam. So I will cover this in detail in this video series, but if you want to enroll for dedicated classes for CCSP exam, you can either comment or write me over ccspcertified@gmail.com for more detail of the upcoming batches. Now I start the most important topic today. There's a transport layer security, TLS. And as I mentioned that from cryptography itself, around 8 to 10 questions comes in the exam paper, 4 to 5 questions from basic, and around 5 to 6 questions from advanced topics. So we have covered PKI yesterday in the last series lecture, and today I'm going to cover most important TLS. So 3 to 4 questions will come from the TLS itself. In my exam paper I have seen 3 questions from TLS, but a few of my friends say that they found 4 questions also. So 3 to 4 questions are 100% from the TLS itself, and it is very tried and testable subject in the cryptography area. So before we jump to TLS, we will do a quick recap of what we have learned so far, because that will be important to understand the TLS flow, and then we will jump to the topic of the day. So as we have seen in the previous videos, so if you are new, you haven't seen my old videos, my request to cover this my 2 basic videos of cryptography and the PKI before this, and I will just do a quick recap. So as we have seen, the most important concept of cryptography are confidentiality, integrity, and non-repudiation, and there are mechanisms to achieve this. Confidentiality is achieved by encryption mechanisms, public key and private key, or asymmetric and symmetric key encryptions. There is an example of the confidentiality to achieve. Integrity is achieved by hashing algorithms. The example is MD5, SHA1, SHA2. For confidentiality part, it is AES, DEES, RSA. Those are the encryption algorithms. And the non-repudiation is a digital signature, helps in the non-repudiation. And the DSA, ECDSA, or even RSA or other digital signature algorithms help in the non-repudiation. I am not going to cover in detail because I already covered them in the previous lectures. The PKI part that we have covered in the last lecture, I just do a quick recap. As whole cryptography system is based on the keys management, and the public key is very important. So how we distribute the key, that was a challenge in the symmetric key. In unsymmetric key, we solve the issue by having a 2 set of key, public key and private key. But as we have seen, in encryption we need to use public key of the receiver to send a message. So from where we get a public key? How we know that public key is correct? If someone has modified the public key, there must be some way to identify that. That's why this public key infrastructure PKI was being introduced. It is whole depend on the public keys itself. So as we have seen, the crypto systems public keys are open and publicly accessible. It is very hard to know if the key is correct and what the purpose it was being created for. So PKI is more a governing body and that works on issuing, storing, and revoking digital certificate. So what is digital certificate? Because we are discussing so far public key. So digital certificate is sort of envelope that contain public key with some other information. That envelope is digitally signed by CA. There is a CA and RA that we have seen. So CA is private key being used to digitally sign the public key to make it tamper proof. It gives the assurance that the communication is secure and it is someone whom they are contacting is the right person. So that we have seen the public key infrastructure. The digital certificate play a very important role. PKI play a very important role in the digital certificate. We also call them X509 certificate. And in TLS we will learn how we use these digital certificates. So that's the TLS story. So so there are 3 most important concepts that we have to remember, we have to understand. One is the data in rest, second is data in transit, and third is data in use. So as we have seen in cryptography, or sorry, in the cloud environment, the data security is the most important and most challenging task, because it is multi-tenant, it is data is in shared environment, it is on the CSP's hard disk or CSP's control. How to make sure the data is secure? There might be a cases that data is intentionally or unintentionally get breached or deleted. So to ensure the security of the data, three important concepts. So whenever data in rest, either in database or bucket or in file system, it must be encrypted, and the encryption mechanism is symmetric encryption mechanism that is used by cloud providers, and the best industry known algorithm is AES as of now. In future it might be different, but AES is the one which we are using in the data in rest, that we have already covered in the previous lectures. Now we are in the data in transit. So because it is a cloud based environment, data must transit over the internet from client to server, from let's say object storage to tenancy, from point A to point B. There is a need to move the data from DR to DC, data in replication, data in transfer. All this case, the security is achieved by the TLS that we will cover today. There is one more concept, data in use. There is a TEE, Trusted Execution Enclave, that we'll cover later. So that is also a concept to secure the data when it is in use. But we will cover TLS and SSL in detail. So TLS is Transport Layer Security. SSL is Secure Socket Layer Security. So you might have seen the SSL certificate is expired. SSL certificate is stored on not on server. So what is this certificate? We will explain here now in detail. So SSL is the original protocol that was being used in cryptography for the data in motion security. So initial three versions of SSL 1.0, SSL 2.0, and SSL 3.0 released, but later some vulnerabilities found. So the TLS series started. So TLS is the newer version of the SSL, you can say. TLS also three releases happened: TLS 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. 1.1 also found vulnerable, so industry using TLS 1.2 and 1.3. Both are active and secured as of now. So I will tell how the TLS handshake happens and what are the TLS concept is. So in exam there might be two type of questions. One is the what is TLS functions, and second type is use of the TLS functions. So let's say this slide will cover what is the TLS functions like, how the TLS works, and I will show some CCSP official guide questions also in my exam question also, to explain some of the concept via the question banks also. So TLS is two important concept. One is TLS handshake and second is the TLS record. And as we have seen in the previous lecture also, TLS the very good example of the public key and private key, or symmetric asymmetric key both. It take the good part of the asymmetric key, it collect the good part from symmetric key, and this protocol is built upon both. So there is a like when you hit in browser any HTTPS based website, let's say you hit a banking website hdfc.com, that is our HTTPS. So your browser is your client, or you are the client, but it is a browser who is initiating the request, and the HDFC server is the server. How the communication happened? So in the handshake, it is the algorithm used is asymmetric algorithm. So asymmetric algorithm is being used in handshake, and what is the purpose of handshake? To set up the symmetric key. So handshake task set up a symmetric key, and the record is used that symmetric key to exchange the information. So the client who start the communication, very common question, that who start the communication is client. What is the mechanisms to establish the symmetric key? The asymmetric key is used to establish the symmetric key, and how it is being established, I will quickly go through the flow. though it is not being asked in the exam directly, but it is good to know this flow not only for exam but for industry uses also. So TLS handshake flow I will cover in the next video. As I mentioned, it is not very important for CCSP exam, but it is very important in other exams, and especially the technical interviews, job interviews. So have a look at the next video if you're interested to understand more about how TLS flow works. But for CCSP exam, this information is enough. So next lecture, I will give some overview of the questions, that sample question papers, CCSP exam question papers, and my exam question papers. So you will understand that what type of questions they are asking, and this video lecture is good enough to give the answer of all these question papers. Thank you. Like my channel, subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching this video.